Hey there, deep divers. Ready to shake things up? We're about to take a deep dive into Think Like a Freak.
Oh, I love this book.
Get ready for some serious brain bending. Because today we're exploring the unconventional wisdom of Levitt and Dubner. It's all about challenging those everyday assumptions and discovering surprising solutions.
And they always manage to find these hidden patterns in the data. They hit you with those aha moments. It's great.
That's what I love about their work. They don't just present the obvious. They make you see the world in a whole new light. Kind of like their first big piece of advice, which is to embrace, I don't know.
Right.
Okay, now on the surface, that might sound a little, I don't know, counterintuitive. Like, shouldn't we be striving to have all the answers? Isn't that what makes us experts?
It seems that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But they make a really good point about this. They argue that clinging to that expert facade, trying to appear like we have it all figured out, can actually backfire, and sometimes with big consequences.
It's almost like that feeling when you're in a meeting and someone asks a question using all this jargon, and you're just nodding along like, yep, totally, I'm following you.
Yeah.
But inside you're thinking, I have no clue what's going on.
We've all been there. But imagine if it's like a doctor misdiagnosing a patient because they don't want to appear uncertain.
Oh, wow.
Or a financial analyst who's ignoring a red flag because they don't want to seem clueless. Suddenly, I don't know, feels like a whole lot more responsible of an answer, doesn't it?
It does. It totally changes the game. So how do we actually put this into practice? Do we just walk around announcing our ignorance all the time?
Well, it's not really about broadcasting it to the world. It's more about shifting that internal dialogue we have with ourselves.
Okay.
So instead of fearing the unknown, get curious about it.
So embrace the unknown. Get curious. It's almost like tapping into your inner child a little, right?
Exactly. And that actually leads perfectly into their next point.
Which is?
Think like a kid.
Oh, I love it.
Remember when asking why constantly was like your superpower?
The best superpower.
Right. Levitt and Dubner argue that rediscovering that childlike curiosity can unlock seriously innovative solutions.
And it's true. Kids have this amazing knack for cutting through all the noise and asking the questions that really matter. The questions that we as adults, we often overthink or we're too afraid to even ask.
Right. They haven't learned to overthink things yet or get bogged down by all those assumptions that we make.
So true.
And those simple, obvious questions, sometimes those lead to the biggest breakthroughs.
Okay, I need an example. What's one of their stories that really brings this to life?
One that I always think about is Takuro Kobayashi, the competitive hot dog eater.
Okay, competitive hot dog eating. I did not know that was a thing. So how does thinking like a kid apply to what is apparently a very real and very intense sport?
Well, most of the competitors, they focused on just trying to eat more hot dogs, just cramming as many as possible.
Makes sense.
But Kobayashi, he approached it like a kid with a science experiment. He was like, how can I re-engineer this process?
So instead of just trying to out-eat everyone, he was trying to outsmart the entire system?
Exactly. He experimented with breaking the hot dogs in half, dipping the buns in water for optimal swallowing. He was thinking differently about the how, and by doing that, he shattered those eating records and basically revolutionized the sport.
Okay, so we're embracing the unknown, channeling our inner child geniuses. What other Think Like a Freak secrets are up our sleeves?
Well, speaking of unconventional approaches, they have a really fascinating section on incentives.
Ooh, incentives. I am all about a little extra motivation, but I'm guessing this goes beyond, just bonuses and gold stars.
Definitely, yeah. They dive into how incentives are almost like this hidden language. It shapes so much of human behavior, and often in ways that we don't even realize.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Give us an example. How do incentives play out in these, unexpected ways?
Well, they use this surprisingly relatable example, giving candy to kids. On the surface, it seems pretty straightforward, right?
Yeah.
But when you really look at it, it reveals some fascinating insights into how we respond to rewards. And how even these, seemingly small incentives, they can trigger these big changes in behavior.
So it's like, how much are we willing to do for that one piece of candy?
Yeah.
And how do our strategies change when the stakes are raised? I can see where this is going.
Exactly. And it makes you realize that this incentive game, it's constantly being played, whether it's choosing between two different coffees or making a major life decision. Understanding these hidden motivations, that's where I think that real Think Like a Freak advantage comes in.
Totally. Okay, deep divers listening to this. Time to decode those incentives. All right, I have to ask about something that Levitt and Dubner bring up that feels a little counterintuitive, even a tad controversial. Quitting. They actually encourage it.
They do. It's kind of amazing. They challenge that whole never give up mentality. They argue that strategically knowing when to quit can actually be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, because we're conditioned to see quitting as failure.
Right.
But I can see how clinging to something that's no longer serving us, that can be its own kind of trap.
Right. And they introduce this concept called opportunity cost, which I think is so useful.
Opportunity cost.
It's not just about what you've already invested in something, like those sunk costs, but it's what you're missing out on by not quitting and pursuing something else.
Oh man, opportunity cost. That hits close to home. I'm totally guilty of this. Anyone else out there ever finish a book they hated just because they were halfway through it?
Oh, yeah.
Classic sunk cost bias in action.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
But imagine the amazing things that you could accomplish if you had the courage to let go of some of those things, those projects, relationships, even beliefs, things that are no longer serving you.
It's true. Letting go to grow. Okay, deep divers, I'm feeling inspired. Levitt and Dubner would be proud. So, we've challenged assumptions, embraced our inner child, even made peace with the idea of quitting. What other think like a freak wisdom awaits?
Well, if you're ready to channel your inner Sherlock Holmes, this next one is for you. It's all about uncovering hidden truths, those seemingly insignificant details that can, crack a case wide open.
Ooh, intrigue. I'm always up for a good mystery. And I think I remember them using a pretty epic example to illustrate this, right? Something about, like, King Solomon.
Exactly. They start with that classic story of King Solomon,
Yeah.
with the two women who are claiming to be the mother of this baby. And they come to Solomon, who's known for his wisdom, to figure out who the real mom is. He uses this clever ruse to reveal the truth.
Right. It's all about looking beyond the surface, reading between the lines, uncovering the truth. So how do they connect this ancient wisdom to our modern world?
They connect it to the story of, this is a good one, the rock star David Lee Roth and his, some might say, infamous brown M&M contract clause.
Okay, I have to admit, I don't know this one. Spill the beans. What's the deal with Van Halen and brown M&Ms?
So, buried in Van Halen's notoriously detailed concert contract was this clause demanding a bowl of M&Ms backstage, but with all the brown ones removed.
Okay.
Now, this wasn't just rock star diva behavior, though I'm sure it seemed like it. This was a strategic test.
A test. Okay, now I have to know more.
So if Van Halen showed up and there were brown M&Ms, it meant that the venue hadn't read the contract thoroughly, which could indicate bigger safety issues with, the stage setup, the technical requirements, things like that.
Oh, that is some next level thinking right there. It's like a canary in a coal mine, but for rock and roll.
Yeah.
Talk about finding those hidden clues.
Right. And it just highlights the power of paying attention to those seemingly small details, those brown M&Ms in your own life, because they might reveal a much larger truth.
That's amazing. I never would have thought of that.
That's
It
amazing.
seems like they're saying, don't just dismiss those little details, even if they seem a little odd, because they might be the key to something much bigger.
Exactly. And that's what's so great about Think Like a Freak. It encourages us to, engage with the world with this sense of curiosity and open-mindedness.
And a willingness to maybe look a little silly.
Yeah.
To ask those questions that other people aren't asking.
Absolutely.
So it's not about being a know-it-all. It's more about being a learn-it-all.
Right. And retraining your brain to spot those unconventional solutions, to see the patterns that maybe other people miss.
Totally. It's less about being a certain way
Mm-hmm.
and more about thinking a certain way.
Yeah,
Which is a skill you can develop. It's like a mental muscle you can flex.
exactly.
As we kind of wrap up our deep dive here, is there any final think like a freak wisdom you want to leave our listeners with? Something to kind of keep those mental gears turning long after this episode ends.
How about this? What's one deeply ingrained assumption that you hold, maybe even about yourself, that might be holding you back? And what would it look like to, challenge that assumption, to approach it with fresh eyes?
Oh, I love that. What a fantastic challenge. A great way to kind of spark that mental revolution. Big thanks to our amazing expert for guiding us through the unexpected brilliance of Think Like a Freak. And to all of our incredible deep divers out there, thanks for joining us on this adventure. Remember, the next time you're facing a challenge, don't be afraid to, think a little, freakishly. Until next time.